I am Carlos, 39 years old, and San Diego is my home. For as long as I can remember, the smell of ozone and molten metal has felt like home to me. I'm a welder, or at least I used to be a good one. Every morning, I still go through the motions. I wipe down my old welding mask, the plastic scratched and scuffed, but still my shield. I check my dusty work gloves, even though the jobs have mostly dried up. It's a ritual, a way to hold on to the man I used to be, the man who built things, fixed things, made things strong. My small apartment is tidy, even if the walls feel thinner with every passing month. I try to make it a place of calm, especially for my younger sister, Elena, and her son, Marco, who has special needs. They rely on me, and that responsibility has always been my quiet fire. It's what drove me to dream of owning my own small, honest welding shop, a place where I could create and fix and earn enough to give them a real sense of security. But lately, that fire feels like it's been doused by a cold, heavy rain. My biggest struggle started a few months ago. My primary welding machine, the heart of my trade, sputtered and died. Completely. It was old, yes, but it was reliable. Now it sits in the corner of my tiny garage, a silent, rusting monument to my failing dreams. I've tried to repair it, but the cost of parts alone is more than I make in a week from the odd, small, hand-tool jobs I manage to find. Those jobs barely cover food, let alone the rent that's quickly falling behind. The internal nemesis, as I've come to think of it, is the doubt that whispers in my ear at 3 in the morning. It asks if I'm really good enough, if I'm a failure at 39. It makes me question if I'm letting Elena and Marco down, if I should just give up on welding and find some manual labor job, even if it means sacrificing the one thing I truly love. The fear of failure is a heavy, cold stone in my stomach, weighing me down, making every step feel like a monumental effort. I used to be a man of strength, but now I feel like I'm cracking under the pressure, like a poorly welded joint about to break. I tried everything to climb out of that hole. I spent hours hunched over my old laptop, the screen flickering, searching online job boards for any welding work I could find. Most required certifications I didn't have the money to renew or equipment I no longer possessed. I walked through the industrial parks under the hot San Diego sun, going from shop to shop, asking if anyone needed an extra hand, even just for cleaning. The polite rejections piled up like scrap metal, each one dulling my hope a little more. I even offered my services to neighbors for small, non-welding repairs, fixing leaky faucets or loose fence pickets just to earn a few dollars. My old welding machine became a project of obsession. I spent evenings in my cramped garage, trying to diagnose the problem, watching do-it-yourself videos online, hoping for a miracle. I'd scavenge for discarded parts that might fit, but nothing worked. It was beyond me, and the tools I had weren't enough. There was one evening when Elena called, her voice tight with worry. Marco had a new medical expense coming up, something unexpected that their insurance wouldn't fully cover. My heart sank. I wanted to help, to offer solutions, but all I had were empty promises and a dwindling bank account. The weight of her worry, added to my own, felt like an anchor dragging me to the bottom of the ocean. I even thought about selling my father's old watch, a beautiful engraved timepiece, the last truly valuable thing I owned. It was a gift from my grandfather to my father, then to me. But I couldn't bring myself to do it. It felt like selling a piece of my family's history, a surrender I wasn't quite ready for. Each attempt, each small flicker of hope was met with a new setback, pushing me further down. One afternoon, as I was walking back from yet another fruitless job search, I passed by the community garden a few blocks from my apartment. It was a beautiful place, tended by the elderly residents in our neighborhood. They grew vibrant flowers and fresh vegetables, but the wrought iron gate leading into it was badly rusted. One hinge was almost completely broken, making it sag dangerously, nearly impossible to open or close without a struggle. I saw an elderly woman, her back slightly bent, fumbling with it, almost losing her balance. A pang went through me. I could fix that. I knew I could. It was exactly the kind of strong, honest work I loved. But I had no tools, no materials, no means. The irony twisted in my gut. Here was a problem I could solve with my eyes closed, but my hands were tied by my own destitution. The gate became a symbol of my helplessness, a constant reminder of what I couldn't do. Then came the final blow. A thick envelope arrived in the mail, crisp and official. It wasn't a warning anymore. It was an eviction notice. My landlord was giving me 30 days to find the money or find a new place to live, a place I couldn't afford anyway. I sat in my darkened apartment, the notice clutched in my trembling hand. I looked at the broken welder in the corner, then at a framed photo of Elena and Marco, their smiles so bright. The despair was crushing, like a physical weight pressing on my chest. What was the point? I was just dragging everyone down, a burden instead of a pillar of strength. Giving up seemed like the only logical, merciful thing to do. I felt like a ghost, invisible, unheard, completely forgotten by the world. I remember that day with painful clarity. I was sitting on a park bench near the community garden, the eviction notice crumpled in my pocket, its edges digging into my thigh. The sun was warm on my face, but I felt a chill deep in my bones. I watched the elderly residents again, gingerly navigating the rusted, unstable gate, their frustration clear on their faces. A lump formed in my throat. I felt such an overwhelming urge to fix it, to make their lives a little easier, but I had nothing. My own life was falling apart. Just then, an elderly woman, Mrs. Ramirez, whom I had seen struggling with the gate many times, sat down beside me. She was small, with kind eyes that seemed to hold a lifetime of stories. She didn't say anything at first, just sat there looking out at the garden. Then she turned to me. "Carlos," she said, her voice soft but clear, "you look troubled. You've been coming here often, watching the garden. Do you like flowers?" I was surprised she knew my name. I mumbled something about the gate, how it was a shame it had gotten so bad. She nodded slowly. "It is," she agreed. "A shame. My friend, she owns a small bakery downtown. Her old display racks, they need some urgent welding work. A few weak spots. She mentioned she's looking for someone honest, someone skilled, but who won't charge an arm and a leg, someone who really understands metal." My heart gave a tiny flutter. I'm a welder, Mrs. Ramirez, but my machine broke down." I felt the shame rise again. She gave me a gentle smile. "Oh, I know," she said, her eyes twinkling slightly. "I've seen you with your tools. My friend, she said she's willing to pay up front for the materials. And a little extra to help with the trouble of finding a temporary setup. Just enough to get you started again, maybe even fix that old machine of yours. It's not much, but she's desperate." It wasn't a handout. It was an opportunity, a hand reaching out in the darkest hour. She gave me a small, folded envelope with some cash and the bakery's address. She said to tell you the community garden gate needs fixing too if you have a moment later on. She'd pay for that as well. I looked at the envelope, then at her. My eyes welled up. This was it. This was the spark. With renewed hope, I used that money not to pay a single overdue bill, but to buy just enough supplies. A small, second-hand arc welder that wasn't perfect but worked, and some basic rods and safety gear. My hands, which had felt useless for so long, now moved with purpose. I fixed the bakery display racks, working late into the night, pouring all my skill and pride into making them strong and beautiful again. The bakery owner, a lovely woman named Sophia, was thrilled. She paid me fairly for the job and even offered me another small project. But before I did anything else, I went back to the community garden. With my newly acquired, albeit temporary, tools and some fresh metal I bought with a fraction of my earnings, I meticulously worked on the rusted gate. I spent hours grinding away the rust, welding new supports, strengthening the hinges. I didn't want any praise or payment for it. I did it quietly, anonymously, just leaving a small, handwritten note tucked into one of the freshly welded bars. "Made safe. Pass it on." That act of unexpected kindness from Mrs. Ramirez and Sophia had not just given me a new beginning, but had reminded me of my own capacity to give. News of the perfectly fixed garden gate and the quality of the bakery's display racks started to spread. Neighbors asked me to fix their fences. Small businesses asked for custom railings. My small business began to grow, built not just on my honesty and skill, but on the ripple effect of that initial kindness. I was able to pay my rent, help Alina with Marco's medical bills, and eventually, proudly, invest in a brand new, proper welding machine. My small apartment started to feel like a home again, filled with hope instead of despair. I made it a practice to volunteer my welding services for community projects, always remembering the kindness shown to me when I had nothing. Months later, my small welding business, Carlos's Custom Welds, was thriving. I was even mentoring a couple of young welders, offering advice and letting them use my new tools. One sunny afternoon, I saw Mrs. Ramirez again. She wasn't alone. She was pushing a stroller, and sitting inside, giggling, was Marco, Alina's son. He looked so happy, so healthy. Mrs. Ramirez caught my eye across the park, and she gave me a knowing, gentle smile, a warmth radiating from her that filled my chest. In that moment, I understood everything. She hadn't just helped a friend. She had orchestrated everything, a guardian angel for a man who had lost his way. Tears welled up in my eyes, but they were tears of gratitude and hope. I knew then that I would forever be a ripple in the vast ocean of kindness, always looking for someone else to lift up, just as I had been lifted. Because sometimes, the greatest strength doesn't come from what you can do alone, but from the unexpected kindness someone else believes you truly deserve. And in paying it forward, we truly make the world a stronger, more connected place.